Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TechGeek webinar series, our endeavor to empower techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key of enhancing our performances and for growth as professionals. With this principle in mind, TechGeek has initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give a crisp insight of various domains. Today's webinar is 25th session in the webinar series, and it's giving insights on Prince2 project management. Our guest speaker today is Ms. Sonia Agarwal, Head Project Management Office at STM Microelectronics. Sonia is an accredited Prince2 practitioner and is a certified Scrum Master with 15 years of total work experience. At STM Microelectronics, Sonia is responsible to drive and monitor the processes and techniques of project management to increase success rate in terms of timely delivery and customer satisfaction. She is also responsible for building project management professionalism among the IT staff by mentoring, training, and guiding them. Sonia graduated in chemistry from St. Stephens and has done her master's in computers from IMT Ghaziabad. She is a voracious reader, avid traveler, and loves watching comedies whenever time permits. Gentlemen, this presentation will continue for the next 15 minutes and we'll take your questions at the end of the presentation. In the meanwhile, you can post your queries on techgeek.com or through the chat pane available in the webinar software. Without further ado, I introduce you to our guest speaker, Ms. Sonia.
Hi, thank you, Bharat. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sonia Agarwal, and I'll be here with you for the next 75 minutes. And I warmly welcome you to the webinar on Prince2 project management. To share with you why I kept the topic as common sense, not rocket science, is because I feel that project management is nothing more than organized common sense. And since common sense is not so common, that is the prime reason why projects fail. So let us spend some time and see how we can use simple common sense and have some more successful projects. Okay. So what you see on your screen is the agenda for the next 1 hour 15 minutes. I'll be touching upon the history of Prince2 and the benefits. I will move on to the fundamentals of project management and the 6 variables. Structure of Prince2, which is an integrated mesh. Then I'll take you in detail to the 7 non-negotiable principles of Prince2 and the unique tailoring approach. And after that, which is one of the most popular questions and a doubt in the minds of people, Prince2 versus PMBOK. After that, I would close the session with giving you a little information about the Prince2 certification exam and also some useful links with my experience. And we'll wind up the session with 15 minutes of dedicated Q&A. Okay, so this is going to be our agenda. I would appreciate if you could take a note of your question answers and address to them at the end. All right, so what is Prince2? Prince2 is actually an acronym. It stands for Projects in Controlled Environment, second version. If you know, Prince2 is a non-proprietary method and has emerged worldwide as one of the most widely accepted methods for managing projects. This is largely due to the fact that Prince2 is truly generic. It can be applied to any project regardless of project scale, type, organization, geography, or culture. The name Prince2 and not Prince3 or similar is kept to indicate that the method remains faithful to its principles. Prince2, it's a structured project management method and it's endorsed by the UK government, the Office of Government Commerce, as the project management standard for public projects. And this methodology encompasses the management, control, and organization of a project. Let me take you through a brief history of Prince2, how it was born and where are the roots coming from. So in 1975, It was born under the name of Prompt by Simpact. In 79, it was adopted by CCTA, which is the Central Computer and Telecom Agency, which is now better known as Office of Government Commerce UK, OGC. In 89, Prince was formally born. In 96 was the new version evolved, which is the Prince2. And after that, in 98, 2002, and 2005, we had revised editions of Prince2, but the fundamental remained the same as that of 96. But the major breakthrough came in 2009, where the Prince2 2009 refresh version was launched, and there were two manuals, where the need was recognized to split the two parts of project management. One is to the project managers, and it is called Managing Successful Projects. And the other part is for the directors, for the senior board members, people who are typically directing the project. So that is called DSP. There are two manuals now. And it is a fundamental revision of the method, because it makes the method simpler and lighter to address current weaknesses or misunderstandings, and to better integrate it with the other OGC methods like ITIL, P3O, P3M3, managing successful programs, management of risk, and so on. Okay, now of course, there is no point talking about anything until and unless we are able to see the benefits, because benefits, not features, persuade people. Okay, so if I talk about Prince2, it embodies established and proven best practices and governance for project management. It provides you a global standard and also offers a common language and understanding. Prince2 is widely recognized and understood. Therefore, a common vocabulary for all project participants, promoting effective communication. Prince2 provides for explicit recognition of project responsibilities. There is defined structure for accountability, delegation, authority, and communication. Its product focus clarifies what a project will deliver, why, when, by whom, and for whom. So it is about creating transparency into the system. Then one of the good parts is there is no charge to use Prince2. It is available within the public domain. And of course, as I mentioned earlier also, it interfaces with the other OGC initiatives, such as all these. Now, all the organizations have to balance two parallel competing imperatives: projects versus BAU, which is business as usual. Now, as you understand, projects are the means by which we introduce change. They help transform business operations in order to survive and compete in the future. Whereas business as usual is to maintain the current business operations. As Joy Gums said, operation keeps the lights on. Strategy provides a light at the end of the tunnel. But project management is the train engine that moves the organization forward. So this very clearly defines the difference between projects and the business as usual. The temporary nature of the project stands in contrast with the business as usual or operations, which are repetitive, permanent, or semi-permanent functional activities to produce products or services. So they tend to go on and on and on. This is one of the major identifiers to distinguish between a project and business as usual. Now, to define a project literally, the typical Prince2 definition says, project is a temporary organization that is created for the purpose of delivering one or more business products according to an agreed upon business case. Or we can also say that it is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. Now please note that in Prince2 lingo, anything that is created by a project is called a product. Now that may be something tangible like a software, a hardware, a new organization setup, or it may be as intangible as a new way of working, a change in mindset of people or of an organization. But there are a number of characteristics of a project work that distinguishes it from business as usual. And here I share with you those 5 characteristics. That is, a project always brings in a change. They always will have a defined start and finish date. They will be usually cross-functional. That is, they would not be dedicated with only one line of work, one silo. A project is unique, and project by definition involves risks because we are trying to do something for the first time. Now I take you to the slide of the 6 project variables. There are 6 variables involved in any project. Now that project may be as simple as baking a cake, or it may be as difficult as launching a rocket to the moon. And therefore these 6 aspects of project performance are to be managed, which are time, cost, quality, scope, risks, and benefits. Prince2 is an integrated framework of processes and themes which addresses the planning, delegation, monitoring, and control of all these 6 aspects of project performance. The primary challenge of project management is to achieve all of the project goals and objectives while honoring the preconceived constraints. Okay, we are living in a real world, so the constraints will always exist. A successful project manager is the one who is able to deliver despite the constraints. Now, Prince2 is a project management methodology, but there is a boundary to what Prince2 does not cover. Okay? Because, so the 3 things that Prince2 categorically does not cover, the first is the specialist aspects. That is the industry specific or the type specific work, because Prince2 is a framework and it can be applied on any industry, any kind of projects. So it refrains from getting into the industry specific work. Then second difference, it does not talk about detailed techniques. Planning and control techniques can be used in support of the Prince2 themes. Examples, the CPA, earned value analysis. They're all there in the market. So you can use whatever fits your bill. But Prince2 does not advise precisely which technique you should be using. Techniques are only included in Prince2 where they contribute to the specific Prince2 treatment of a theme. For example, the product-based planning or the quality review technique, which are the only 2 techniques of Prince2. So this is one thing to take a note of. And the third thing that Prince2 does not cover is the softer skills, that is the leadership capability of a project manager. In a nutshell, if I say Prince2 tells us what should be done and why, but not how. And just to confirm, Prince2 is not a computer software application like my Microsoft project. It's not a planning tool. It's not carved in stone, that it is flexible to meet the needs of a specific project. And the idea is to make things less bureaucratic and easier to do, less cumbersome. Okay. What you see on your screens now is the structure of Prince2. As you can see, there are 4 integrated elements of Prince2. There are principles, there are themes, and then there are processes. And surrounding it all, there is the project environment, which is the context under which the project has to be run. Okay. This is called the 777 guideline. That is the 7 principles, 7 themes, and 7 processes of Prince2. We will learn about some of the details as we go further into the webinar. I'll be explaining what do they mean. Okay, now talking about the 7 Prince2 themes. Please understand that themes describe aspects of project management that must be addressed continually and in parallel throughout the project. You can think of them as project management disciplines. Just the way a discipline has to be respected and followed as we are moving into the project, so are themes. So if you see, there are the 7 themes. The first theme is business case, which answers the question why. That means it says, why should we do a project? What is the burning need? Why are we doing a project in the first place? Okay, so usually either it's an aspiration of an organization, like to gain a market share, or there is some burning need to fix a hole. There is a problem which has occurred, and if we do not do a project, then we will suffer. So this is what is answered by the question of business case. Then the second theme is organization, which answers the question, who are responsible? This talks about the stakeholders, the responsible people of the organization, because it's all about defining a structure of accountability in this temporary organization. This we just mentioned that project is a temporary organization. So it is about clarifying roles and responsibilities in that temporary structure. Then comes quality, which answers the question, what has to be created? And quality also means fit for purpose. That is, who defines quality is the customer, because the quality is something very relative. To me, what quality means to me may not mean to you. So we let the horse do the talking and we ask the customer what does quality mean to them. Then comes the fourth theme, which is plans. Of course, nothing can be done without a plan. Plans answer the question how much, and when. By when will it be done? Then comes an inseparable aspect called risks. What if this happens, or what if that happens? So you can directly relate a good risk management with a successful project, because risk is reality. And if you are able to foresee and identify the risks very well into the project, there are very high chances that you will be able to keep the 6 variables of the project under control, because you are better prepared to handle it then. Then comes the 6th theme called change. As they say, change is the only thing that is permanent. What is the impact? So change is going to happen. We cannot be ostriches. We cannot keep our heads buried in the ground and say there will be no changes. No, this is life and changes will happen. The idea is to be more flexible and more adaptable to the changes. So we should know what is going to be the impact and how to handle that. This is the change theme that takes care of all this aspect. Then comes the last theme, which is progress, which tells where are we now, where are we going, and should we carry on? Okay, so if you look at the different kind of questions, you will see that at least one of the themes is handling the what's, the who's, the why's, and the when's. Okay. Now I take you to the Prince2 processes. Processes describe a stepwise progression through the project life cycle, from getting started to the project closure. As most of you would know what a process is. You will think of process as something which is having an input, and then it's like a black box, something happens inside, some magic happens, and then there's an output which occurs. Okay, so that is a process. But internally to that black box, each process provides a checklist of recommended activities, products, and related responsibilities. The 7 processes are SU. I will also share with you the acronyms used in Prince2. Starting up a project. So this is the very first process, that is, you're just starting up. And rather, to tell you the truth, it is not even considered a project at the moment. It is considered an initiative because right now it is not yet clear that whether it will mature into a project. Then comes the process of initiating a project. Now this is the process which allows you to do the blueprinting for a project, where you sit and you do some good work and you design your project as if you are really running it. Then comes the important process of directing a project, which is about the project directors, the project board members, the senior stakeholders, the people who are giving the money, who are giving the requirements, and who are helping them run the show. Then comes the fourth process called controlling a stage. Stage I will touch upon very soon when I'm coming into the principles of Prince2, but for the moment, you should just know that there is a process by the name controlling a stage which helps you control a module when you are inside it. And this process is very closely linked to managing product delivery, which is related to developing specialist work. It may be, writing of a code, or it may be creation of a website, or it may be setting up of a hardware server. But this process involves core work, the competency work, the specialist work. Then comes the sixth process of MSP, which is managing stage boundaries. As the name suggests, it is the gate. We are at an approval gate here. It's a boundary process. So there are intermittent control checks, which Prince2 suggests for better control of the quality of a project or the business case viability of a project. So this is the process which takes care of all those aspects. And last but not the least, we formally close a project in Prince2 under the process CP, closing a project. So even if a project has to be abandoned midway, there is formal closure of the project so that even if we have lost, we should not lose the lesson. Okay? So an intermediately closed project does not necessarily mean a failed project in Prince2. Rather, it is a smart move because you have been able to save the money. Okay. Now I take you to the core of Prince2, the 7 principles, and what do they mean? Please understand that Prince2 is a principle-based approach and can therefore be applied regardless of project scale, type, organization, geography, or culture. Principles are guiding obligations and good practices, which determine whether the project is genuinely being managed using Prince2 or not. Okay, so this is the benchmark. Principles are characterized by 3 headings. Universal, that is, they apply to every project. You may believe it or not, you may like it or not, but they are at work. Okay, they're universal. Secondly, they're self-validating. That is, they have been proven in practice over many years. So that is why we know that they will work always. There are no chances for them not to work. Then thirdly, and very importantly, they are empowering because they give the practitioners of the method added confidence and ability to influence and shape how the project will be managed. Okay, now with that background, let me introduce you to the 7 principles of Prince2. There are 7 principles, and unless all of them are applied, it is not a Prince2 project. Okay, so if you ever hear about an organization which says Prince2 didn't work for me, you have to check up, go to the root and find out, were they following all these 7 Prince2 principles? Okay, I will take you through all the 7 principles one by one. Okay, the first principle is continued business justification. Now, as you understand by the term business justification, it means that why are we doing the project? Is there really a burning need? Is the project justified? And as you see a scale at the bottom of the screen, it is about looking at the return on investment. How much money is going into the project? versus the benefits, the tangible benefits, intangible benefits, the benefits or the disbenefits. All the aspects have to be kept in mind, and not just for the current year, but for few years. Okay, so we would rather look at the big picture. That is called business justification. So the principle says that a Prince2 project has continued business justification. A requirement for a Prince2 project is that there is a justifiable reason to start it and continue investing in it. That is, not just in the beginning, but while it is going on and when it ends. At all point of time, we are keeping the viability of the project on the table. Although the justification should remain valid, it may change. Okay, so the justification may change over a period of time because the market changes, the circumstances change. It's a dynamic world we are living in. As I mentioned earlier, that we cannot really close our doors to change. So, but we will continue to run the project in Prince2 as long as there is feasibility there. And this justification is documented and approved within a business case document. If for whatever reason the project can no longer be justified, the project should be stopped. Okay, so the project should be stopped. I move to the next principle. This principle says learn from experience. And how you can remember this principle is that fools learn from their own mistakes, but wise people learn from other people's mistakes. So this is what we do in Prince2. Prince2 project teams learn from previous projects' experience. Lessons are sought, recorded, and acted upon throughout the life of the project. In Prince2, learning from experience should be used when starting a project, as the project progresses, and as the project closes. So you have to understand, when a new project manager starts a project, of course he has no knowledge, he has no database to learn from. So he banks upon the organizational lessons learned repository or the lessons knowledge base of the organization. That were similar projects done in the past, and what was the fate that they meet? How did things go? What was done if such a problem was encountered? So right in the very beginning, in the first process, which is called startup a project, the lessons are sought from the organization. And as the project progresses, each Prince2 project manager keeps on gathering their own lessons. The lessons can also be of two types. One, the things that they would like others in organization to reproduce. Something that they learn, a tip, a trick, a new thing which helps the process, which increases the efficiency or the productivity. And the second kind of lessons are the pitfalls to avoid. So if they have fell for something, or if they were, they made a mistake, they will log it so that in future other project managers are wiser by their mistakes and do not commit the same issue again. Okay, so eventually if you look at the bottom line, it is very beneficial for the organization because we are becoming wiser with each passing project. And as the project closes, this good database of learnings is added to the central repository of the organization to enrich it. Okay, so this is the principle which is at work during the project life. I take you to the third principle, which is define rules and responsibilities. A Prince2 project has defined and agreed upon rules and responsibilities within an organization that engages all stakeholders' interests. Now, as you understand, the term stakeholder can be referred to for someone who can be influenced by or who is capable of influencing the products of your project. So this is a standard definition of being a stakeholder. So even if there is a vendor who is supplying some hardware and software into your project, you may like it or not, but he is indeed a stakeholder into your project. Because if a poor raw material can kill your project, then the person is a stakeholder. And anybody who gets impacted is a stakeholder. All Prince2 projects should have the following 3 primary stakeholders, and they're better known as BUS: the business, user, and the supplier. Okay, so the acronym that you should remember for organization is BUS. Business is somebody. So we are talking about some senior people here, people who are decision makers, who have the signing authority with them. Business is somebody like a sponsor who endorses the objectives and ensures that the business investment provides value for the money. So you have to think of business as the voice of the organization. This person is also called the executive in Prince2 and looks at or watches or guards the interest of the company, the people who are funding the project. The second representation is from the user community. Now this person, typically called a senior user, is the representative of the people who will use the products of your project. Okay, so if you're typically manufacturing sales software, then the head of sales and marketing maybe should be your senior user, because that person would be most well placed to give you the requirements of what do they want, because they have to use it. So users will use the products to enable them to gain the intended benefits. So these are the people who will use your product and then be able to provide the benefits to the organization. So there is a very thin difference between business and users, so you have to understand that. And supplier, as the word suggests, are the people who will provide the resources, the hardware, software, expertise into the project. And now these people may be internal or external. Okay, so even external vendors can be represented into your project board in Prince2 because they are a stakeholder. They can impact the product at the end. Now let me take you to the 4th principle, which is manage by stages, and the punchline for you to remember this principle is eat the elephant bit by bit. A Prince2 project is planned, monitored and controlled on a stage-by-stage basis. This style of planning helps overcome the issue of planning horizon. Let's say if you have to go from say Delhi to Chennai, you cannot plan the whole the car journey in one shot. What you see is only the next maybe 10 kilometers and 100 kilometers, and this is how the journey is done. Similarly, for the project planning also, we plan only what is worth planning or what can be planned with a lot of credibility. So these decision points, which are called stage ends, are the control points where the project board or the senior members of the directing level will look into the project. Okay, so this is where the project manager gets in touch with the director's level for decision making. So that is a stage end typically. Management stages provide senior management with control points. And Prince2 requires that there should be at least 2 management stages in any project, however small it may be. 1 initiation stage and at least 1 more further management stage. So you cannot plan the mammoth project in one go. You are bound to fail. So the idea is to break it into eatable chunks so that you can plan it, dissect it, and then execute it step by step. This is the principle. The 5th principle on the same lines is manage by exception. And the punchline for you to remember it by is no news is good news. This is the principle which enables the director level or the senior managers to manage by exception, that is by putting very little time. Prince2 enables appropriate governance by defining distinct responsibilities for directing, managing, and delivering the project, and clearly defining accountability at each level. Accountability is established by delegating authority from one management level to the next by setting tolerances against any of the 6 objectives. So the boss can say that for the time tolerance, you can go plus 15 days and minus 15 days. Or for the cost, you can go say $10,000 in plus or minus. For quality, I can accept 2 bugs per million, or similarly, they can set tolerances. And once the tolerances are set for the level of authority, as soon as the tolerances are forecast to be exceeded, please mark my word forecast here. If tolerances are forecast to be exceeded, they are immediately referred up to the next management layer. This is management by exception, that your boss has set some tolerances for you and he has given you full control, because he believes and he trusts your judgment that as soon as those tolerances are forecast to be exceeded, you will knock on their door and take their permission to go to the next level, and you will be roped in again for the decision making. So a Prince2 project manager should be thought of as a delegate of the project board who is executing the project on their behalf on a day-to-day basis. But the decision making is completely controlled at the directing level, that is the project board level, the bus that we talked about. And as I said, tolerances can be set against any of the 6 variables of time, cost, quality, scope, risk, and benefit. I take you to the 6th principle, which is focus on products. This principle talks about how to give full attention on the end. As the punchline says, begin with the end in mind. This is also the Stephen Covey's second habit, if some of you would know. Begin with the end in mind. The same holds true for Prince2 products. A Prince2 project focuses on the definition and delivery of products, in particular their quality requirements. So once you know what you have to create and of what quality you have to create, it would be much easier. A Prince2 project uses product descriptions to define each product's purpose, composition, derivation, format, quality criteria, and quality method. Now this is the way Prince2 manages it. So Prince2 says that we do not leave any ambiguity towards defining the product, what we want. Because if it is well defined, then whoever may create it, but we will have complete control on the quality of the end deliverable. Using the product-based planning technique, which is one of the techniques that Prince2 advises, the PBB technique supports this particular principle, since it ensures that the end product is clearly identified first and foremost, and then reverse engineering is done to identify the related products, tasks, or activities. Okay, so there is very little chance for you to go wrong when you have put your final product on the pedestal and you do your backtracking and you plan your sub-products or you plan your activities in the reverse engineering model. So you do a product breakdown structure similar to a work breakdown structure, and then you define your activities to create those sub-products. So eventually your final product would only be an accumulation of all those sub-products. Now I take you to the 7th principle, which is tailor to suit the project environment. And how I like to explain it is never cut with a knife what you can cut with a spoon. Prince2 is tailored to suit the project's environment, size, complexity, importance, capability, and risk. Now, all of us know each project is unique. No two projects are similar. Okay. So how can one process apply to all kinds of projects? It is not possible. This is the USP of Prince2, that it allows tailoring. The purpose of tailoring is to ensure that the project management method relates to the project's environment. It also ensures that the project controls are based on the project scale, complexity, importance, capability, and risks. So if the process becomes more bureaucratic or cumbersome than the core work of the project, then trust me, nobody would like to follow the project management method. We have to be smart enough to be able to tailor the process depending upon the size of the project and the criticality of the project. So it's not one medicine that cures all the evils. So Prince2 can be tailored. The core project management group of the organization can advise different methodologies, not really methodologies, can make available different tailored approaches to different kind of projects. And this is what enables all types of projects to be using Prince2 without compromising on the quality. Now, coming towards the end of the session, I bring to you the comparison slide between Prince2 and PMBOK. If you see, Prince2 is a series of management processes defining what must be done, when, and how it must be done, and by whom over the life of a project. Whereas PMBOK describes core practices and a wider range of techniques that can be applied to manage a project. Prince2 is an integrated set of processes and themes. It is not isolated silos that can be selectively applied. So it just doesn't work that you may use 3 principles and 2 processes and 4 themes. Sorry, that is not Prince2. It is an integrated set. You have to take it or leave it. Whereas in PMBOK, each topic area can be referred to in isolation of others. Okay, so if you want to get into the HR or if you want to get into the risk management, you can just take that silo and apply it in your organization. This is possible in PMBOK, but not in Prince2. Prince2 covers all project management roles because there is a clear role description for each role holder of Prince2. So everybody is accountable for the part that they play in success of a project. Whereas in PMBOK, it is completely focused on the project manager. So if the project succeeds, it is the PM, and if the project fails, it is the PM that gets killed. Whereas in Prince2, we can really find out who failed the project. And most of the times, it is not the project manager who's the decision maker. So the decision making capability is with the board. So they are the the owners of the business case in Prince2. Then specialist techniques and detailed techniques are not elaborated in the framework itself due to the generic nature. In PMBOK, detailed techniques like earned value analysis, cost benefit, top-down and the bottom-up estimation, and various other techniques are well elaborated and are part of the framework. That makes, though the system quite complicated and very difficult to memorize because it's a lot of work to memorize all the techniques. On the other hand, Prince2 is very English-like. It's a lot of common sense, use of English language, and knocking the right people at the right time. Prince2 is a de facto standard method for United Kingdom with a strong presence in Europe, Australia, and other typical English-speaking countries, and it's currently very high demand in India since 2010. PMBOK is by far the leading approach in North America and is also accepted worldwide. In a nutshell, as is also written on the APMG side, Prince2 and PMBOK don't compete. Instead, they complement each other. So there are so many people who are Prince2 as well as PMP. It's a complementary project management methodology, so they're not striving for the same place in any case. Now I move you to give you a little information about Prince2 certification, because there were a few questions around that. So I thought it's a good idea if I can share. Accreditation of Prince2 is governed by passing of 2 exams today. Foundation exam, which is a 1-hour multiple choice exam, and this tests the fundamentals or the concepts of Prince2. The prerequisite is Prince2 exam does not really require to show any project management experience in like in PMP, but it requires a 3-day Prince2 foundation training by some ATO, or you can even self-study. So either of the 2 methods that you can find from APMG website, but both of them are possible, and foundation pass marks are on a paper of 75 marks, you have to score 35, which is a 55 percentile. And practitioner is a 2.5-hour exam, which is based on objective testing exam format. It is a pretty new format. Earlier there was a written essay kind, but this one is more productive. And it tests the application of the Prince2 knowledge in real life scenarios, and it requires in-depth understanding of Prince2 concepts. So somebody who knows Prince2, who understands Prince2 and is able to work in the Prince2 environment should be able to clear this exam. It is an open book exam because the OGC manual, which is the book for managing successful projects, is allowed in the exam. But you have to know to be able to use that open book really. The prerequisite is that you should have passed the foundation exam, plus you should have attended a 2-day Prince2 practitioner training by some ATO or self-study also. Again, the practitioner pass marks is 55 percentile, that is you should gain a 59 on 108. And so this will enable you to be a Prince2 practitioner, which is a certification which will be valid for 5 years. And although after 3 years you can revise your certification if there has been a new version of Prince2 out, and after that your name will be hosted on the successful candidate register on the APMG website for 5 years. Okay, so this is about little about the Prince2 certification. And the last slide that I have is some useful links. So many organizations have used Prince2 worldwide, like Orange Business Services and US Federal Government Department, VocaLink, TransPower, Rent2Kill, and many others. So if you are interested to read some articles or some success stories, you may go to APMG International website and you can read some case studies. And then I have given over the links of APMG International and the India website. And there is a lot of study material, a lot of reading material which is available. So you are free to go and read it. With that, I close the webinar and I'm open for your questions. You may type in your questions on the chat. Okay, so I'm getting some questions here. A lot of questions are here. Let me try to answer some of them. Why Prince2? Okay. So Himanshu is asking why Prince2 when there are project management models in market which already prove themselves. Himanshu, Prince2 is also proven methodology, and there have been many success stories, which is what I shared in this seminar. So it depends where your clients are, because all companies of UK, Europe, Australia, where the governments are promoting Prince2, are asking for Prince2 project managers, and that is why it is catching up in India. Muthu Kumar Subramaniam has asked how Principle 2, that is learn from experience, be done for new organizations, new technology, where we don't have organization learning database. Do we need to refer from industry level learning database? Good question, Muthu. See, when we don't have any knowledge base of our own organization, then see, while you'll be building something for your own organization, it is always a good idea to go into the best practice forums, to research on the knowledge database or the lessons learned database of other organizations, and if they'll be willing to share it with you. So of course that is the way to go. Avani Joshi is asking if I can explain business and user again. So Avani, business is typically the voice of the organization. The people, the organization which is going to benefit from the project. Okay, so people who are putting in the money and they want their money back plus XYZ. Okay, either a gain in market share or some more money created, or better customer base, better company image, or something like that. Whereas user is represented by the people who will be typically using the product. So if you are developing a software, so people in the organization who will use that software will be the users. Okay. Nilesh Chan has asked how PMP or Prince will benefit in ongoing IT operations management, working on a subscriber management system which includes, would be great if you give some valuable inputs. Okay, frankly for operations management, the methodology of ITIL and using some ITSM tools would be more beneficial. I don't really see PMP and Prince2 can help projects because they have project management methodologies. So I do not really see how operations would be able to really benefit for Prince2. But of course the principles are universal, Nilesh. So since you already now know about the principles of Prince2, you will have to see if some of them work for ONS in your organization. Okay, then I have a question. How big does a project have to be before Prince2 can be used? Asked by Keshav. This is to be defined by the PMO of your organization, Keshav, depending upon what kind of organization you are. Are you a service-based organization, critical projects, or means anything? It can be even a 3-month project, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, 2 years. So it's very individualistic for the organization to define what a project means to them. That is, what is the size or the content criteria which must be fulfilled for an organization. Okay, so it has to be defined by the organization corporate group. Do I need a computer-based planning tool to implement Prince2? Not really. See, Prince2 can typically be using just Microsoft products like Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, PPT. All these things can help you make management documents, which is the prime advantage of Prince2. But there are indeed some tools available in the market like Microsoft's Enterprise Project Management, which enable any organization to quickly align to project management, enterprise project management. Okay. After that, Kaizad is asking, I'm taking up a Prince2 certification exam in 2 weeks. What are the best tips and suggestions you would like to share to do well in the certification? First, all the best. Secondly, you have a lot of mock exams available on the net, so you can try to search for some mock exams and prepare yourself for the time bound, especially for the Prince2 practitioner, because it's a lengthy exam, and if you are not speedily working and changing the case scenarios immediately, then it might be difficult for you to finish the paper. Then again a question which says, what countries recognize Prince2 certification? If you go to APMG International website and you look for the countries that are promoting Prince2, you will find many. But some of the governments that I know of which are promoting is Canada, Australia, Singapore. Here the governments are subsidizing the trainings also. So, and they're really promoting Prince2 certifications. Some of the questions which are duplicate, I'm not answering them. Full form of PMBOK is Project Management Book of Knowledge. How many years of experience are required to appear for Prince2? There is no cutoff. There is no number of years of experience cutoff. If you want to move into project management, you can. Do you think Prince2 is required after having certified in PMP? Anil Singh is asking. My answer I've already given during the webinar. Yes, because the two methodologies are complementary. They are not conflicting with each other. So you may go ahead and do both, because then you will have a complete skill set of what to do, why to do, and then how to do it. For someone, Rajiv Raghavan has asked the question, for someone who is doing more of program management, is it advisable to go for Prince2 instead of PMBOK? See, for program management, as you would understand, a program is an umbrella of projects which is catering to the organization's long-term vision. Okay, so similar projects which are catering to that big picture or the big vision of the organization can be clubbed under one program. So if I look at the solutions that are available in the market, is also MSP, which is managing successful programs. Okay, so if you are a program manager, then you should probably be looking at some qualification like MSP, because then that will enable you to understand the nuances of program management better than that. Okay. Go up, down. The Shiva Kumar is asking, like PMBOK recommended for PMP, what is the official book for Prince2? The official book is OGC manual, which is Office of Government Commerce manual for managing successful projects. The next question is from Siddiqui Momin, who's asking how the SDLC and planning stage can be linked, like Agile methodology or Scrum. Okay, so if I see the linking between Prince2 and Scrum, it would be mostly, see, software development or any development activity happens in the process of managing product delivery in Prince2, where the core or the specialist works are created by specialist teams. So that is where Scrum can come into picture, because Scrum, the daily Scrum meetings and having the product backlog, Scrum backlog, can be useful in the software development part, which is happening inside the managing product delivery. Okay, and so this is where the two things can be linked. After that, there are a lot of questions around PMP and Prince2. Which one is better to follow? Vipul Seni is asking which one is better to follow, CSM, which is Certified Scrum Master, or Prince2. Vipul, they are two different methodologies. Prince2 is for project management, and Certified Scrum Master is an adaptive adaptive methodology for releases, or for software development life cycle. So they are completely different. They are aiming at different line of work. Cannot be compared. It is not apple to apple comparison. Is Prince2 more useful for a contracting company? Murlidhar Soni is asking. No, not really. Prince2 is a framework based on best practices, and it can be applied to any kind of project, not just IT, telecom, shipping, aeronautical. It can be applied to any kind of project. Sumant Kapre is asking the question, PBS, product breakdown structure, what it is. Can you explain in your words? Could not understand by reading on the net. Okay, let's say you have to arrange for a conference. Product breakdown structure is, so your final product is a successfully arranged conference of 100 people. Okay, let's take that as an example. So you would draw a diagram. Imagine you are drawing a diagram that successfully arranged conference for 100 people is one box. Then under it, you will have various headings like printed invite cards, printed mailers, arranged for the hotel room, arranged for speakers, and so on. So that will be your first line of products. And then you will again divide them, that to be able to send successful invite letters or arrange speakers, what all you need to do. So then that will come in the next row. So just the way you do a work breakdown structure, similarly it is a product breakdown structure. So you're breaking down in terms of the product, that what you have to create, and to be able to create that, what all you must create in advance. Similar question by Vivek Gupta. Is it possible to integrate Prince2 with agile development methods such as Scrum? I told that it can be used during the managing product delivery when development work is happening using software development life cycle. Aboli Joshi is asking the question, you said no news is good news. Can you elaborate it how? See, when the boss gives you authority limit, that Aboli, you can spend up to 5,000 rupees, that is your tolerance. If you are within the limit, then you are on your own. Nobody is looking at you. Understand? But if you intend to spend 5,500 INR, then you have to take permission of your boss. So that is why from the boss's perspective, no news is good news, because the boss is saying that as soon as the limit is about to be breached, I will be asked. You will not take a decision without the permission of your next level of management. Few more questions. Very similar. How Prince2 is going to help testing project. Depending upon what is required from a project, that is, what is the scope, and whatever is the scope of the project, it is a methodology that has to be applied. You have to identify who are the role players and what has to be created in what time, using what resources and of what quality, and accordingly you will apply Prince2. But please take care that to be successfully able to apply Prince2 in any organization, you would need a lot of commitment from your senior management, because here we need a sign off from the senior managers. It cannot be done at the lower level in an organization because it's a lot of commitment required from the senior management. Another question is on the training hours. Yes, the Prince2 training, if you attend, fetches you 35 PDUs, professional development units. So after that, you are allowed to take the PMP exam also. Suresh Patra is asking, PMBOK certification is having certain validity. What about the validity of Prince2 certificate? I answered that it is valid for 5 years. And for those 5 years, you can write a Prince2 practitioner under your name. This is not a forum for Scrum, so I would not be answering too many questions on Scrum. Can Prince2 be applied to non-IT projects? Manish Sawant is asking, yes, absolutely. Because Prince2 is a methodology and it is it's a framework. You can put it on top of any kind of project. It should just have those 5 characteristics of a project. That is, it has to bring in a change. It should be temporary in nature. It should be unique, cross-functional, and it will have some uncertainties. As long as these 5 characteristics are fulfilled, it is a project and you can apply Prince2. Okay, I think that would be the end of it. I've tried to answer most of your questions. And if you have any more questions, you can post on the website and I'll try to answer as much as possible. Okay. Thank you so much for your strong presence. It was a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thanks, Ms. Sonia, for your session on Prince2 project management. Common sense, not rocket science. It was indeed an enlightening session. I would also like to thank our participants for their support in making this webinar a huge success. The recording of this webinar will be made available to you on techgeek.com by tomorrow. Just one announcement for the audience here. The 4th session of the webinar series on mobile app development is happening tomorrow. That is Thursday, October 20 at 3 p.m. The topic is getting started with iPhone app development. The speaker for the session is Mr. Amit Gupta, Senior Manager Software Development at Dell. So see you all tomorrow at 3 p.m. Thank you.